Hi guys, my name is Melissa and today we're going to be talking about a concept called more than two numbers. So to learn about this, to start figuring out what this concept means, we'll first start by looking at an example problem. Is 83 plus 84 plus 85 plus 86 even or odd? So in the previous video, we talked about adding, addition, and subtraction and identifying patterns. So for example, we learned that an even number plus an even number it always gives an even result, and we identified patterns like those. But then in this video, we're going to talk about what happens to those patterns when we have more than two numbers involved. So if we have more than two numbers, for now we're going to try splitting them into two numbers and then adding the sum. So what that means is we're going to look at it separately, like 83 plus 84 as one group and 85 plus 86 as the second group. So 83 plus 84 is an odd number plus an even number. In the last video, we identified that the sum of an odd plus even number is going to be an odd number. And 85 plus 86 is also an odd number plus an even number, so that's going to give us an odd number. And in total, an odd number plus an odd number gives us an even number. And so we can tell that 83 plus 84 plus 85 plus 86 is going to be even. And we can figure that out without actually adding all those numbers. So that's an easy way to identify whether the sum or the result is going to be even or odd. And so using that same concept, we're going to solve some more problems. So we have 123 plus 234 plus 345. And so we're going to look at it as one group and another number. So 123 is an odd number and 234 is an even number. So odd plus even is an odd number. And 345 is an odd number. And so odd plus odd is even. Again, if you guys need more time to solve these problems before I go over the solutions, always just feel free to stop and pause the video before you come back. 172 is an even number and 283 is odd, so that's going to be an odd sum. And an odd number plus an even number is going to give us an odd results. 22 plus 44, they're even numbers. And so that's going to be an even sum for those two. 66 plus 88 is also even plus even. And so in total, an even and even intermediate sums. We're going to call these intermediate sums because that's not the final sum. That gives us an even final results. For problem 58, we're going to divide this into 19 plus 29, 39 plus 49. And then add those two sums together, and then eventually add that to 59. So 19 plus 29 is an odd number plus an odd number, so that's going to be even. And 39 plus 49 is also an odd number plus an odd number, which is even. And so an even number plus an even number is going to be even. And 59 is an odd number, so when we add an even and odd number together, that gives us an odd results. Now we'll look at problem 59. And so we have 12 plus 34 plus 56 plus 78 plus 90. Now again, we're going to divide this into two groups, add those sums together, and then add 90 to it. 12 plus 34 is going to be even plus even, and that gives us an even sum. 56 plus 78 is also even plus even, giving us an even sum. And so even plus even is going to give us an even sum. And then adding that to 90, which is an even number, is going to give us an even result. And then we'll look at 60. So again, we're going to do the same thing. 43 plus 18 is going to be odd plus even, and that gives us an odd sum. 42 plus 94 is going to be even plus even, and that is going to be even. And adding odd and even together is going to give us an odd result. And 78 is even, so adding those two together is going to give us odd plus even, so that's going to be odd. And number 61, the sum of two evens. So that's what we learned in the previous video. So even plus even is going to give us an even number. And then the sum of three evens is going to be even plus even plus even. And we know that the first two evens, so even plus even is going to be even. And then we add those two, so that's going to be even. The sum of four evens, again, really similar. Group them into two and then add the sums. So it's going to be eventually even plus even, which gives us even. Then we have the sum of five evens. So adding even plus even gives an even. I'll just write that as E because we're running out of space. So even, and then the next two, even plus even is even. Add those two, even, and add it with the leftover. Even is going to be even. So basically what we can tell from here is that no matter what the number of evens are, if everything that we're adding is even, then the total sum is going to be even. Now let's look at problem 62. The sum of two odds. So we have odd plus odd, and we learned that odd plus odd is even. Now we have the sum of three odds, and that's going to be odd plus odd plus odd. Now odd plus odd we know is even, but then we have another odd, so we add that with the even. And even plus odd is going to give us odd. Now we have the sum of four odds. So we're going to divide that into two. So odd plus odd is even, odd plus odd is even, and we add those two. So even plus even is even. But for the sum of five odds, we have even, even, and we add that together, that gives us even. But we have one more odd, so we add that to even, and that gives us an odd result. And so based on what we learned so far, if we add an even number of odds, I know it's like kind of like a riddle because it's an even number of odds, like 2 or 4 odds, that's an even number of odds. even number of odds gives us an even, but an odd number of odds gives us an odd. And so 99 is an odd number, so odd numbers of odd is going to give us an odd sum. But 250 is even, so even numbers of odds are going to give us an even. Now, basing off of what we just learned and the patterns that we learned just now, we'll solve some practice problems. And so Yuri's sticker book contains an odd number of pages, and each page contains an odd number of stickers. Is the total number of stickers in Yuri's books even or odd? So the total number of stickers is the sum of an odd number of odds. So that's a concept that we learned in problem 62. So we have an odd number, we have odd numbers of odd, right? And we know that odd numbers of odds give us an odd sum. So the result is going to be odd. Number 64, all but one of the buses on Beast Island have an even number of wheels. Is the total number of wheels on all the Beast Island buses even or odd? So, for now, we're not going to consider that one bus that doesn't have an even number of wheels. And in problem 61, we said that no matter how many numbers of evens we have, if everything that we add is even, then the total is going to be even. So for all buses except for this one, the sum is going to be even. And then we have even, but then we have this one bus that is not even. So if it's not even, it's going to be odd. And so even plus odd is going to give us an odd result. For number 65, all of the monsters on a team have an even number of hands. Every hand has an odd number of fingers. And so this is even number of odds. And in problem 62, we said that even number of odds give us an even result. So the total sum is going to be even. Problem 66. Sam adds an odd number of odd numbers, then subtracts an even number of even numbers from the results. So this part, the odd number of odd numbers. So we learned that an odd number or odd times, odd number of odd numbers give us an odd sum. But then an even number of even numbers, no matter whether it's an even number or odd number of evens, if everything that we're adding is even, no matter how many times we do that, it's always going to be even, right? So that's going to be odd minus even. And in the previous video, we learned that the difference between an odd number and an even number is odd. So our result is going to be odd. Problem 67. What is the largest odd sum you can get by adding 4 of the numbers below? So it wants us to get an odd sum. So what we can do based on what we learned in the previous page is we can do odd number of odds. So odd numbers, well, not odd numbers. From the options here, we're gonna write out which ones are odd and which ones are evens. So this is odd, 25 is odd, and 35 is also odd. And then so we're gonna add 3 large odds first. And so we're going to do 35 plus, well, we can do that, but it asks us to get the largest odd sum. And although we do know that an odd number of odds equals to an odd result, we also know that even plus odd gives us an odd result. So to get the largest sum, we're going to add the largest odd and and large evens. So first we're going to try to use up all the large numbers here. So we're going to try 50 plus 20 plus 12. And then also we should remember that odd numbers of odd result in an odd result. So in this problem, basically, we can have 1 odd or we can have 3 odd numbers involved. So we're going to try doing even numbers, all the big even numbers, and then and it says 4 of the numbers below, and that's why the only option is 1 odd or 3 odds. So we're going to add 3 of the largest even numbers and then add an odd to it. The largest odd is going to be 35. And so for 50, 20, and 12, it's basically going to give us an even sum, because adding all even numbers is always going to give us an even sum. And then that even sum plus this odd 35 is going to give us an odd result, because even plus odd is always an odd result. 50 plus 20 is 70, and 70 plus 12 is 82. So 82 plus 35 is going to be 117. So that is when we use 1 odd. Now let's try and test out what happens when we use 3 odds. So the largest numbers that are odd are going to be, 3 largest numbers that are odd are going to be 35, 25, and 5. And then we're going to add the largest even number. So here basically we know that an odd number of odds, so 3 odds, is an odd, and if we add odd to an even number, that gives us an even result. That gives us an odd result. And I know that at first, if you're not used to these patterns, it might be a little confusing, but once you memorize all the patterns, you can tell that, these 3, since it's an odd number of odd numbers, that's a little confusing, but an odd number of odds is always going to give an odd result, and odd plus even is always going to give an odd result, so the final sum is going to be odd. 35 plus 25 is going to be 60, and 60 plus 5 is 65, so 65 plus 50 is going to be 115. And comparing these two cases, 117 is bigger than 115. So the largest odd sum is going to be 117. Now, I know that was a little confusing, so if you need more time, just always feel free to pause the video. Anyways, for problem 68, one point that we need to remember is that consecutive numbers are whole numbers that come one after another. So for example, 1, 2, 3, they're consecutive numbers because they come right after each other. But for example, 5, 7, 9, they're not consecutive numbers because we're missing 6 and 8 in between. So for example, 76, 77, and 78 are consecutive numbers. So problem 68 tells us to find 3 consecutive numbers that have an odd sum. So let's see. If we have 3 consecutive numbers. So let's say that our starting number is going to be an even number, like 2. Then it should be 3 and 4. And so this is an even number, odd number, an even number. An even number plus an odd number is going to be an odd number. And odd plus even is going to be an odd. And so they do have an odd sum in total. So an example would be 2, 3, 4. And the sum, just to check if it's odd, is going to be 9. And so it's an odd number. The next problem says, can you find 3 consecutive numbers that have an even sum? Well, let's try this out. Now, considering 2, 3, 4 again, which was even, odd, even, we know that even plus odd is odd, and so odd plus even is odd, so our final result was odd. But then if we switch around the order and we make it 3, 4, 5, now the order becomes odd number, even number, and odd number. Now odd plus even gives us an odd sum, but then adding it to our final odd plus odd is even, and so that does work. So a possible combination of 3 consecutive numbers to get an even sum would be 3, 4, and 5. And to check, 3 plus 4 plus 5 gives us 12, so it's an even number. Next, can you find 4 consecutive numbers that have an odd sum? So let's try. Since we have 4 numbers now, no matter whether we start with even, so I'll show you guys. So 2, 3, 4, 5, it starts with an even number. Another option is starting with 3, so it's starting with an odd number. But then since it's consecutive, it's going to be even, odd, or odd, even. And so basically, since we have 4 numbers, we're adding 2 evens and 2 odds. So in both scenarios, we're adding 2 evens and 2 odds. So we're only going to get one possible result that's either odd or either an even number. So we'll just write this out, since for both cases, whether we start with even or odd, it's always going to be even plus odd. And so even plus even is even, and odd plus odd is even, and so even plus even is going to give us even. And so it's impossible for it to have an odd sum when we have 4 consecutive numbers, so we're going to write impossible. Now the next problem says, find 4 consecutive numbers that have an even sum. Now in problem 70, we just said that the sum of 4 consecutive numbers is always going to be an even number because it's even plus odd plus even plus odd. So we're adding 2 evens and 2 odds. And so any 4 consecutive numbers would work, like 1, 2, 3, and 4. So just to test that out, it's going to give us a sum of 10, which is even. Now look at problem 72. What is the largest odd result you can get by adding three different two-digit numbers? The largest odd result you can get by adding three different two-digit numbers. So we're adding two different two-digit numbers. And for it to be an odd result, we should always do, when it's two numbers, we have to do an even number and an odd number. So add one even number and one odd number to get an odd result. And so we're going to find one two-digit numbers that is the largest two-digit number that's even. And then the next number is going to be the largest odd number that is two digits. So the largest two-digit number that's even is going to be 98. And the largest odd number that's going to be, the largest two-digit number that's going to be odd has to end with 9. So it's going to be 99. So we're doing 99 plus 98, which will give us 197. Okay, sorry. So I misread the question. Sorry for the confusion. So it says adding three different two-digit numbers. So we needed to add one more two-digit numbers. So the largest possible sum of three different, so the largest possible sum of three different two-digit numbers is going to be obviously the largest two-digit numbers. So they all have to be different, so we're going to do the largest ones, which is 97 plus 98 plus 99. But if we look carefully, 97 plus 98 is going to be odd plus even. So that gives us an odd number. And 99 is odd, so odd plus odd is going to give us an even sum. But we want an odd result. So we need to change one number. And so we want to reduce this to 96. And so this is going to be even plus even, which is an even sum. And even plus odd is going to be odd. And so we're going to do 96 plus 98, which is 194, and then add 99 to it. And that's going to give us 293. Now we have problem 73. Draw a line that separates the 7 numbers below into two groups so that each group has an even sum. So we'll first identify which numbers are odd and which numbers are even. So ends with the 1, it's odd, ends with the 0, even number, even, odd, odd, and odd. Again, we're looking at the ones place or the last digit to see if a number is odd or even. And so this gives us two possibilities. One group has 0 odds. So 4 of the 7 numbers are odd and 3 are even. And so for each group to have an even sum, right, we need each group to have an even sum. Possible ways of doing this are that one group has 0 odds, so it's going to be all even numbers added together in one group, and the other has 4 odds. Or another possibility is that one group has 2 odds. Well, each group has 2 odds each. Now, a possible way to Now in this situation, since the first and last numbers are each odd, we cannot draw a line so that one group has 0 odds, right? Since we need to split it somewhere in the middle, but these two are both odds on each separate ends. So even if we draw a line, it's impossible for any one group to have 0 numbers of odds. So we have to go with the situation where each group has 2 odds. So we're going to split it into here where we have 2 odds and 3 evens in one group and 2 odds in one group. So no matter how many times we add even numbers, even numbers added together are always going to be even. And odd plus odd is even. So basically we have even plus even, which is an even sum. And odd plus odd is going to give us an even sum. So both groups have even sums. So we need to split the group into 2, like one group and 2 group. And our last problem is 74. Write an expression using the numbers 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 once each, with a plus or minus sign between each pair of numbers to get each result below. So to get 15, we have 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. And we know that 13 is 2 less than 15, so we're going to change the 2 into subtraction. So it's going to be 5 plus 4 plus 3 minus 2 plus 1, right? And then yeah, and then so sorry you guys, sorry for the confusion. For 13, changing the plus 1 to a minus 1 is going to give us 13. So what I mean by that is 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 minus 1. And so 5 plus 4 is going to be 9. 9 plus 3 is 12, right? 12 plus 12 is 14, and minus 1 is 13. So the only thing that changed is the plus 1 here became a minus 1. Now for 11, we can change the plus 2 to a minus 2. So we can write this as 5 plus 4 plus 3 minus 2 plus 1. And so the only thing that changed is plus 2 and minus 2. So 5 plus 4 is 9, 9 plus 3 is 12, 12 minus 2 is 10, and 10 plus 1 is 11. Now to get to 9, we can change the 3 to a minus 3. So we can do 5 plus 4 minus 3 plus 2 plus 1. And so 5 plus 4 is 9, minus 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8, and plus 1 is 9. For 7, we change the plus 4 to a minus 4. And so to get a 5, we should change the the 1 to negative 1 from here. So now, since 15 is much greater than 5, we're now going to work with 7. So we can rewrite this, but change the plus 1 into a minus 1. So 5 minus 4 is 1, plus 3 is 4, plus 2 is 6, minus 1 is 5. And then from 7, we can change the plus 2 into a minus 2. And then finally, to get to a 1, we can change both the plus 2 and plus 1 into a minus 2 and minus 1. And so to check, 5 minus 4 is 1, plus 3 is 4, minus 2 is 2, minus 1 is 1. Now here, decreasing 15 by an even amount always gives an odd result, right? And so, if you guys are confused with what we just did on the left column, when we notice that when we change a plus sign into a minus sign, the result always decreases by an even amount. And so, for example, when we changed 1 to negative 1, the total sum changed by 2. And when the plus 2 became a minus 2, for instance, from 15 to 11, it changed by 4. But then, just like what we just discussed, when we change a plus sign to a minus sign, it always decreases by an even amount. But when we want to get from 15 to an even number, like 14 or 12, we need to decrease by an odd number. But changing the sign always decreases by an even number, so it's impossible for us to decrease by odd numbers. And that's why from 15, which is an odd number to start with, it's impossible for us to get even results. And so all of these are going to be impossible. And so yeah, that was it for today's lesson, and I hope you guys had a great and fun time learning about odds and evens for more than 2 numbers, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Thank you.